Okay, cool. Week 48 of the £1 a day challenge. Now, I'm not going to waste your time and I'm going to jump straight into this one. I want to address what most people don't about what it's actually like to get started in business, and particularly online e-commerce stores. The thing is, a lot of successful gurus on YouTube, they tend to only see things from their successful perspective. They're showing how you do this and then that, and then with little work, eventually all this money will come into you and it'll be great. And this is why I think so many people become complacent in business when they first start, especially when creating something technical like an e-commerce store. They see these people doing so well and they see, they don't see the behind the scenes. They see just doing this and this, and these people are making so much money. So if something doesn't work initially, whereas in reality there's so many different roadblocks and things to work out, and you're going to be left in the dark so many times, lots of things that you don't know what to do, and therefore these people get held up and they give up. Now, I don't want to be Mr. Doom and Gloom, but the analogy I've come up with, what it's really like to kind of start an e-commerce store from scratch, is a bit like a dark tunnel. Imagine you just jumped in and you're starting to try to build your first e-commerce store. You can follow these tutorials and there's a lot of great tips on how to do it and stuff, but it's like trying to walk through a dark tunnel with a torch. You're walking through and there's all these different things, all these unknowns that you can't see, that you don't know how to deal with. And to deal with them, you have to shine your light on them, i.e. doing a Google search or YouTube, trying to research every single thing, just trying to work out what every step is and every little problem there is to work out. And then eventually, as you keep progressing, sure, it's difficult in the beginning, but then you'll start to see light at the end of the tunnel. And then when you're eventually out of the tunnel, you have good knowledge on everything about how to actually do this business and how to complete every section of it. And then it becomes less stressful, and then you'll find a lot more success. So more to my point, my website still isn't live. I know, I said it would be ready this week, but it's not. And that's partly due to my perfectionism, really. I really want this store to work and I want it to look great, so I've been going over all the copy and different images, just trying to optimize them and make them look great. And then it's also due to all these things that I couldn't see beforehand. I didn't know they were there. So this final section of this video, I wanted to use just to shed some light on this. So when you create your own online store, you won't be so much walking through the dark, and I won't have all the answers here because I'm still trying to discover it myself, but at least I'll give you something to think about so you know what you're up against when you're creating your online store. Things that aren't mentioned on these website creation videos on YouTube, or these gurus telling you how much money they're making. And so firstly, probably the main roadblock that I went through this week, which I wasn't sure about, there's a few legal and extra info pages that you really should add to your store, partly for the legal reasons to protect your customers' data and stuff, and also for trust. You need that extra information like your shipping details and stuff like that, so the customers know exactly what they're getting. And so I'll run through these pages that you might not have thought of before. Firstly, there's your privacy policy. This is really important to add to your store because it just covers your back. It tells the customer what you're doing with their data in terms of using their details and all that kind of thing. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't know much about law, and whenever I look at these terms and conditions and privacy policy pages, they just look like a whole bunch of boring gibberish, so I didn't know what to look for. So I thought if I had a good look on Google, see if I could find a site that creates these for you. And sure enough, I found quite a few, and the best one that I found was getterms.io. They do a free version, and they also have a paid version. I'll get into that in a second. But what this website does is you type in your business details, so just saying how it's run, your website. There's a lot of checkboxes in there which, to be quite frank, I didn't really understand either. So I think if you err more on the side of yes, this is part of your business, then it's all included in that privacy policy, and when you learn more you can always delete it. So tick as many boxes that you think might be potentially for your business, and then it automatically writes out a privacy policy for you. The free version is fairly basic, which is probably great if you're just starting out and don't want to spend too much. But then also there's a paid version, which was $49, which I ended up going for because I'm mostly selling internationally, shipping to the US and all over the world, so I just wanted to make sure I was completely covered with this. And the great thing with getterms.io, they also create the terms and condition page as well for you. So that's 2 pages that are really useful for your website. Terms and conditions is more about how your website's run and how the customers should treat your store. So that's simple. That was a problem that held me back for a while and stressed me out. I didn't really know what to do, but Once you know, just like shining that torch onto that zone so you can step clearly through that path through the tunnel. And then the next one is you want to add information about shipping and returns. You're the best person to know this about your own business, so just cover all bases. Give all the information you can to your customer about what sort of shipping times they can expect, anything that's going on, and the shipping costs that they can expect. And also the returns. What is your returns policy? Do you accept returns on anything, or does it have to be just a damaged product? And where should they return these products to? And make sure you give them a link to your email address, your business email address, where they can contact you to get some support. And then obviously leading on from that, have a contact page as well. That's super useful. I use WP Forms, which is a plugin, and it basically just writes out all the code to add a form onto one of your pages. And it just gives your customer an opportunity to contact you if they have any questions. And so those are 4 pages that people really do miss when they're trying to create their own store. Things that you don't tend to think about to begin with. Privacy policy, terms and conditions, shipping and returns, and your contact us page. And that's gonna just cover your back legally and also bring trust to the customers. They're gonna trust you and therefore you're gonna get more sales. And the best place to put these is probably in the footer. Just add it at the footer at the bottom of your website. And therefore it's on every single page of the website. If they go through, they can just slide down to the bottom and the information's there for them to see. The next thing I want to shed light onto you about things you might have missed if you're creating your own website is payments. Actually, the payment gateway. How are you going to get your customers to pay you? So obviously WooCommerce is great. They have Stripe where you can connect a credit or debit card to where they can pay you, and then also PayPal, which you can use. But something to think about here is, should you go for a business account as well for your banking? Because obviously that you're running a business and hopefully you're going to get a lot of sales, so a lot of money coming in and out of your bank card. And generally for a personal account, banks don't really like you using a card like this. So I don't know what the rules are around the world, but for the UK, if you've got a limited company, then you definitely need a business card. But if it's not a limited company yet, it's not necessary yet. But it can also be useful for just the accounting later on when it becomes the end of the tax year, and you can more easily filter out what your incomings and outgoings are for the business separately from your personal expenditures. So I don't know all the answers to that one, but just something else to think about when you're trying to actually set up the payment gateway. And the last thing that I want to mention is all the extra costs and add-ons that you might not have thought of before. Lots of gurus on YouTube and stuff love to say how you can just start a website super cheap or even free. And sure, this is possible, but if you do want your website to really work, then I think you do need to think about just paying a little bit extra for certain things. There's lots of plugins to add on, and you might think about paying for a pro version of your WordPress theme that you might be using, just to give you a lot more options on how you want to create your website. And also design tools. I absolutely love Canva. I use it for my YouTube videos all the time, like writing here and designs here, all those sorts of things. And it's also been really handy for my website, where I've been able to create hero images right at the top of the website, and just generally make my website look a bit better. So the last note I want you to take from that is, where they say you can start your website for $30 or $40, and they say it's super affordable, but I'd say just be prepared to kind of put aside a bit extra money for that, just so you can think about adding on these plugins or design tools that can really take your website the way you want it to go. And so those were the 3 main things that I had to shed a little bit of light on this week. And I felt a bit in the dark on that in the beforehand, because I hadn't really learnt a lot about that from the gurus. No one's really saying this on YouTube. So I'm not meaning to be doom or gloom or to put you off or anything, because really, I'm really enjoying this process of building my e-commerce store. And don't be put off when you feel like you're just in a dark tunnel like I did, where you're walking through and you don't know the answers to everything. You have to shine your light with Google searches and stuff just to find out the answers to all these things. And that's okay. And I hope I shed a little bit light on some of those things that haven't been addressed yet. And I hope now you feel a lot more capable of creating your own online store. And if you have any more questions about that, then please do let me know. I'll be happy to help.